John Steinbeck was an American author who was born the 27th February 1902 in Salinas, California, where some of his literary works takes place. For example, the novel of Mice and Men, which is one of his most important literary works, along with the novel The Grapes of Wrath and the novel East of Eden, which both have been made into a movie, and Steinbeck died the 20th December 1968 in New York. In 1909, he studied marine biology at Stanford University, but in 1925 he dropped out of college to pursue his dream of becoming an author. While he was working odd jobs as construction worker, fruit picker, and painter's assistant in New York City. Afterwards, he then went back to California, where he took a job as a caretaker, and during this time, along with the time in New York City, he was writing his first novel, Cup of Gold, which debuted in 1929. All in all, Steinbeck wrote 27 books that included 16 novels, 6 non-fiction books, and 5 collections of short stories, but one of his major works is the novel of Mice and Men, which was published in 1937, and it tells the story about 2 workers, George Milton and Lenny Small, which are ranch workers who move from place to place in search of new job opportunities during the Great Depression in California in order to save up some money to get their own farm. Lenny is mentally disabled, and all he wants to do is to pet mice, puppies, and rabbits, while George has to take care of him. And when Lenny one day at the farm talks with the wife of a fellow worker, Curly, he touches the hair of the wife and she starts to scream. Then Lenny starts to panic, he doesn't know what to do, so he holds her and shakes her and ends up breaking her neck. George is being alerted by another worker at the farm, and at the end George has to shoot Lenny so he can't hurt anyone anymore. This novel criticizes the conditions of the agricultural laborers during the Great Depression, which also is to be found in the novel The Grapes of Wrath from 1939, which is another major literary work by Steinbeck, along with the novel East of Eden from 1952.
John Steinbeck's novel The Grapes of Wrath tells a specific story of the Joad family in order to illustrate the hardship and oppression suffered by workers during the Great Depression. One of the main characters, Tom Joad, is released from prison, where he has served a sentence for killing a man in self-defense. On his trip home, he meets Jim Casey, a former preacher. They go on a trip looking for his family, but the Joad family and all those around it are deserted. Arriving at the Uncle John's house, they discover the family have lost the farm, and are making preparations to sell their belongings and move to California in search for work. All over the South and Midwest, farmers were moving west. Land banks, bad weather, and the machine farming had made farming unprofitable. In California, the family goes from camp to camp in search for work, and in desperation they work picking peaches for 5 cents a box. Jim Casey organized a strike against the unfair low wages, but is later getting killed. So the Joad family is forced to move again. At the end of the story, a girl named Rose of Sharon gives birth to a dead baby boy, and the family is forced to move by the racing water. They walk in the rain to a barn where they find a boy and his starving father. Rose of Sharon decides to feed and save the man's life with the milk from her breast. Steinbeck points out that the immigrants' great suffering is caused not by the bad weather, but by the fellow human beings and the low, unfair wages. He also points out that the historical circumstances has separated people into rich and poor today.
Eden is a movie from 1955, and it is based on the novel East of Eden, written by John Steinbeck, and this book was published in September 1952. The book is often said to be one of the greatest novels that he has ever written, and John Steinbeck himself once said, "I think everything else I have written has been, in a sense, practice for this." And only a month after this was released, it went on the bestseller list. East of Eden takes place in California, just around the time of World War I. It is a story about love and hate and accepting others and yourself, and about self-destruction. The main character, Carl, is a younger brother to Aaron. Aaron is a perfect guy who cannot seem to do anything wrong, and on the other hand we have Carl, who is a good guy but cannot really seem to do anything right. The father has told the brothers that their mother died when they were kids, but this is not true. Carl looks for her and he finds her, and when he does that, he sees that she is just like him, and nothing like the perfect picture that Aaron has drawn of her. There's a lot of problems between Carl and the other characters, and in the end, when Carl is very hurt, he in anger tells Aaron the truth about the mother. Aaron goes into shock, and he gets drunk, and he goes on a train to enlist in the army. The father suffers a stroke because of the stress, and he is left paralyzed and unable to communicate. But in the very end, Carl finally gets the acceptance from his father that he has so desperately wanted and needed for this entire time. There's a biblical parallel in the novel, because Aaron and Carl can be seen as Cain and Abel from the Bible. Carl is a good guy, but he is rejected by his own father, and when he tries to give the father the money that he needs. This is a parallel to Cain, who is rejected by God when he tries to give God a present. After the rejection, Cain kills Abel, and in the novel, Carl informs Aaron about his mother, and Aaron goes into shock and goes into combat, and there he is killed. So this is kind of like a parallel.